Now, if you're wanting to learn how to pre-starch your fabric, or if you're trying to decide if you want to use the spray starch method or the liquid starch method, then this video is for you, because in this video I'm going to show you how to use both methods to starch your quilting fabric. Before I get started on all of that, I want to share some important points for you to consider when pre-starching. Now, number one is not all fabrics are meant to be pre-starched. Now, I am only starching 100% cotton fabrics that I use for quilting. So, fabrics that require dry clean only, they're not to be starched. I'm not sure you should starch silks, but you need to be sure to check. I'm not sure you want to do this for a crazy quilt, but for your regular everyday quilting cottons, this is what I use. Now, just recently I did a presentation for our Quilt Guild on pre-starching, and some of them brought up some points I had not considered before, simply because I don't do a lot of hand work. Now, some of the quilters said that it's hard to stitch, like hand quilt, when you are using heavy starch or starch. And some others said that it's also difficult to do applique, because like with a needle turn applique, you want the fabrics to be, loose and pliable. So I'm not sure that you want to pre-starch for those. Another point was, one of the quilters said that she had taken classes, and in her own experiences, when you use some fusibles for applique, they will not stick to pre-starched fabric. So those are just some important points to consider, because if you are planning to do an applique project or hand quilting, they may not turn out the way you want if you pre-starch first. So be sure to check into that and inquire further before you begin projects like that. Now, I think it's important to remember to protect the surfaces when you are doing heavy pre-starching, especially if you're using an aerosol. I have put down a towel, and this towel, I haven't washed it yet, but I've done lots of starching on it, and it is stiff, and when I get it wet, I think it's going to be kind of gunky. So be sure you're protecting the surface that you are quilting on, or starching on. Now, I don't think you want to starch at your ironing board, because it's going to mess up your ironing board. And you're going to want to protect your carpet. If you have carpet in the area you're starching in, protect your carpet, and also your tile. I have porcelain tile in this room. I don't starch in here, but if I did, I do think that it could make the floor sticky, and then if it got wet, I think it would be extremely slick. So be sure to use caution and protect the surfaces when you are starching. Now, some people have mentioned they have flaking with starching, and the spray starch says right on the can to be sure to let the starch soak into the fabric to help reduce flaking. Now, when I pre-starch my fabrics, I totally saturate the fabrics, whether it's with the spray or the liquid Sta-Flo. So the fabrics are totally saturated, and then I let them dry totally, and then I press them with steam. Now, so far I haven't had anything get gunked up on my iron, because I let them dry completely. So that may help reduce flaking and getting stuff on your ironing board and your iron. Now, some sources that I've looked into said that when you pre-starch fabric, it is more prone to scorching, so be careful and don't, overheat your fabrics and scorch your fabrics. Again, so far I've not had an issue. Now, this is a super important part of starching if you're going to use the aerosol sprays. I think this is extremely important, and that is to protect your lungs. Be sure you're using a good mask and that you're doing this in a well-ventilated area, especially if you have a respiratory issue like COPD or asthma. I really think that that's crucial that you protect your lungs. Now I'm going to demonstrate this outside today, and that's well ventilated, but please be sure you're doing this with a mask on and in a well ventilated area to protect your lungs from all that aerosol. Now, in my last video, a lot of people had questions about Best Press. Now, I have used Best Press for years and years, probably since it first came out, because it came out since I've been quilting. And I use a lot of it. I have jugs of it here in my quilt room, jugs and bottles of it. Now, I will continue to use that because I don't think you're going to want to pre-starch every single project you do. It's going to depend on what type of project you're doing. Just like we talked about before, if you're doing a crazy quilt, pre-starching, I would not pre-starch. If you're doing applique, I would not pre-starch my fabric. So you do have to pick and choose. And if I want to do just a quick, easy project or make a quick block and I don't want to take time to pre-starch everything, I will just use Best Press. Now, one of the questions in my comments on my last video was, did I feel like Best Press, that the starching gave better results than the Best Press? Absolutely. For me, that's my opinion. It just gave much better results. The fabric was much stiffer and much easier to work with, and it really did improve the accuracy. Now, please don't misunderstand. I'm not saying Best Press isn't a good product, but I do think that the starch gave me much better results for improving my accuracy with piecing. Now, if you have any other concerns related to starching or points you'd like to mention that other people should consider, please be sure to put that in the comments below. I would like to see that if you have any additional ones, and I know other people learn from the comments also, so be sure to put those in the comments below. And while you're at it, if you like what you're seeing, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and as always, please share with a friend. But I do like those comments, so be sure to include those if you have a question or a comment you'd like to post. Now, I have tried 4 different starches. I have tried 3 spray starches, and I have tried the Sta-Flo. Now, I tried 3 different types of spray. The first one I wanted to mention is the Niagara Faultless, the original spray, the original finish. Now, I ordered this off Amazon, and this was the first one I tried. Now, I did a whole quilt using this, and I did like it. One of the drawbacks for me was this was a little pricey. I couldn't find it at our local Walmart and or really anywhere else here in town, so I had to order it, and I thought it was pricey, so that's one deterrent for me. The next one I tried is this Faultless Premium Luxe Finish, because this is what our local Walmart did have. Now, this worked okay, but I really liked the Niagara better because I felt like the fabric was a little stiffer. Then I tried this Faultless Heavy Finish from Walmart. This was under $2 a can, as well as this one. I don't remember the exact price, but this was under $2 a can, and I thought that was more reasonable. But it does take a lot of spray starch when you're starching a large amount of fabric, so you do have to consider the cost. So of these three, if I was going to use the spray starch method, I would use the Faultless Heavy Finish. Now, this does give you a pretty stiff fabric, and some of you may not like that. So if you're looking for another Walmart brand that's cheaper, the Faultless Premium did work pretty good and wasn't quite as stiff as that with the Heavy Finish. But the Niagara, I did like it, but I just don't want to invest that much in starching because I have to order it. Now, another thing I wanted to mention to you when using the spray starch, if you have difficulty like pushing with your finger, you can purchase this Comfort Grip Rust-Oleum comfort grip thing that attaches to the can. It just attaches really to any spray can, and then you can, you know, use the trigger here to spray. And this did work well. I'll show you how to use this, how it works when I demonstrate the spray starching. But you can purchase these at your local Walmart. I think you can find them in the automotive section, but you can invest in that if you don't want to spray all of it with your fingertip. So I really feel like this is one of those assistive devices that makes spray starching a little bit easier on your fingers. Now the Sta-Flo, I did use Sta-Flo too, and I was just able to recently try that. I actually tried it yesterday because I couldn't find it, but our local Walmart just got some in and I bought several jugs. Now this was under $4 a bottle, and I'll be able to do a lot of pre-starching with this. And I have to say, this is my favorite method. Number one, I like the heaviness of the fabric. It was pretty stiff fabric, and so I like that. I didn't have to worry about the aerosol, inhaling all that aerosol spray, and I think overall this could be the cheapest option for you. Okay, so I'm going to take this outside and I'm going to show you how I do the spray starching. Okay, so the first method I wanted to show you is using the spray starch. And remember, I said I like the Faultless Heavy Finish spray starch the best. Now all you are going to do is just lay out your piece of fabric, and to me it doesn't matter if it's the front or the back. If I think I haven't saturated it good enough, then I will turn it over and spray the other side. And I am going to spray this, I'm going to saturate it. So I am going to use my little Rust-Oleum handle. I will put a link in the description below in case you want to order these off one of my associate links on Amazon. I am going to put my mask on because I don't want to inhale any of this. But I'm just going to really saturate this. I'm just going to go back and forth. Let me show you. Okay, so I got that on, and you do have to line it up. I just sprayed it backwards, but you're just going to spray it. And I spray it heavy, really, really heavy. It's saturated. And I did put my towel down to protect my table. And you just want to get all of it. I do try to spray as evenly as I can. And I'm just going to, see, it's heavy. It's saturated. I'm just going to flip it over to see if there's any areas that I've missed. Okay, and then once that's done, I'm just going to hang it on my rack to dry. Now, I like to hang my rack in, I like to put my rack in the garage. We have a lot of wind where I live, so that's not really a good option. And then I just leave it there to let it dry completely. Okay, now for the liquid starch, I don't need a mask, and I like that. So what I've done is I've used 2 cups of this and 2 cups of water, so it's a 1-to-1 ratio, which dilutes it by 50%. So if you do this and you feel like the fabric's too stiff, you can do, 1 cup of Sta-Flo with 2 cups of water. And you can use how much ever you need. You don't have to start with 2 cups of water and 2 cups of Sta-Flo. You could do a cup and a cup if that's all you needed. Or you could, if you want to do a large amount, you can even do 4 or 5 cups of water and 4 or 5 cups of starch. Now this really is stiff. This is some of the fabric I starched with the Sta-Flo, and it's stiff, but I like that feel. And again, I am going to be using the Sta-Flo as my method for pre-starching my fabrics. Now, if I get in a pinch, I'll use the spray cans, but I really do plan to use the liquid. Now, all you have to do with the liquid is you just take your piece, this is just a fat quarter bundle I'm doing. You want to fully soak the fabric. Now, the instructions say to wring it out, but I try not to just, really wring it out really hard. You can do it a couple of different ways. You can just pull it up and, kind of get the starch out like that, or you can gently, just give it a good squeeze. All the wrinkles will press out. And then you're just going to take that and you're going to lay it over your rack. And you're just going to lay it right over your rack, and you're just going to keep doing it until all your fabric's done. Now, I would start with a smaller amount of starch, like the 2 cups and the 2 cups, because you don't want to waste it, but you do want to make sure it is fully that you get as much of that off that you can. Okay, and I've got one more to do. This is the last one in this bundle. I'm going to go ahead and get that one done. Now, I let these dry in my garage. I don't want bugs or birds getting all over them, so I'll just let these dry in my garage. And again, I do let them dry completely before I do any pressing, and I will press with steam. I do want to encourage you to start small and try both of these methods to help determine which method you want to use. It didn't cost a lot. Both of these were fairly inexpensive, and it really did help me decide which method to use. You can start with some scraps, and you can spray and dip some scraps, let them dry completely, and then make your decision. And the reason I recommend starting small is because not everybody wants to pre-starch or likes the process. I do hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have any additional questions or concerns, please leave them in the comments below. And until next time, have fun quilting.